All right, guys, welcome. Thanks for being here. I know we're going to have a couple late stragglers that tend to jump from the 2:15 ending slot to the 2:15 beginning slot. So thank you for coming. I'll try to take my time a little bit here at the beginning before I get into the real meat and potatoes of this slideshow. But my name is Dalton McGee, and I'm going to be talking to you guys today about how to coach Fortnite. If you haven't got to if we haven't got to have a conversation yet, I'm a science teacher at Lanphier High School here in Springfield, Illinois. I'm the director of esports for the Springfield Capitals. I am the tournament organizer for the IHSEA. I look over Rocket League, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, and Fortnite for the season. And then I'm a NACES Scholastic Fellow. So that job is basically writing curriculum to integrate esports into the general classroom. And this last year, I wrote one that was English language arts based. So this is my contact information. If at any point you need to get a hold of me or have some questions after the conversation today, feel free to reach out on any of those. I'm pretty receptive, particularly to email, Discord, and Instagram. All those are really quick. So I'm going to go ahead and get started today just because I want to keep everything on time as much as possible. And then hopefully there's a VOD review that people can look at afterwards and see anything they want to see. So let's begin. Keep in mind that when we talk about how to coach any of these games, we kind of want to start simple and go bigger. And so what I want to do is, first thing first, for anyone that is completely new to the game, talk about some basic vocabulary in Fortnite, things you're going to hear your players saying and what those things mean. So I put up here our Fortnite vocab lesson. We can start our English class now. So the first thing I have here is heals. This is going to refer to any bandages or med kits or shields that you might be putting on your characters to increase your health, usually once you've already lost health. So if a kid says, hey, I need some heals, they're asking you for bandages, med kits, shields, whatever you can offer to make their health higher. You'll see them talk about circle. That is the circle that closes in on Fortnite, and an arena mode, which is what we're going to be doing for the IHSEA, and I'll get to that a little bit later. That is a circle that doesn't only get smaller, but it moves across the map, forcing players to make difficult rotations sometimes in some difficult terrain. And so that's just saying, hey, where's next circle? They're saying, where's it closing to? Where do we need to move? If someone says they're one or they're cracked, that's usually saying they are one shot. If you hit them one more time, they're going to be knocked. In Fortnite and solo modes, that means if you hit them one more time, they will be eliminated. But in mode that is not solo based, where a teammate has an opportunity to res you, or in a mode where your team has all dropped and you're the only one left, that one or cracked is going to be what ends you guys. So Matt's is talking about the wood, the stone, the metal that you accrue through the map by harvesting it with your pickaxe or whatever goofy cosmetic thing you change your pickaxe to. But if they say, hey, I need some mats, a lot of times the thing with mats is they'll refer to them. Let's say you have 990 wood. They might say 99 wood. It's just easier to take off the last digit, because unless that is the middle digit increases, it won't matter. If you have 989, you only have 98 builds. You still need one more wood to have 99 builds. So they just sort of say, I might say, hey, I'm 516347. That's saying I have 510 wood, I have 630 stone, and I have 570 or 470, I guess is the example, use steel. So when they say mats, that's sort of how they break them down and what they will use to talk about how many they have of each one. They might say they're knocked. That just means they've been knocked down. You can pick them up and carry them. You can revive them. Or if they're eliminated, you might have to go to a like a bus or not a bus, a van, reboot van, and completely reboot them with no mats or weapons. So W key is a term you'll hear them use in a lot of games. In Fortnite, I tend to hear my kids scream W key them, W key them. That's just walk forward. That's just push them. We need to be aggressive. We need to get all over them right now. You'll hear them talk about blue and white. That is in regards to the heals that we mentioned earlier. So you might shoot someone and they take 56 damage. They had full health. So you would say 56 blue. So what you're saying is I hit them for 56 damage, but it was all shield damage. So they still have 100 health and they have 144 health altogether, because they have 100 from their health and 44 from their shields. You might also say, 78 white. That means they're one. So you'll hear them say 78 white, W key them, because you just got them down. They have very little health. You need to push on them. So this is just some like I said, terminology you're going to want to hear your kids say and recognize immediately what they mean as if you were using the same wording, if you're not already. If they say turtle up, what they're talking about is sort of building around them in close proximity and moving safely. You might build little boxes as you walk forward just so people can't shoot you from around. It might also mean that you are just going to put a pyramid over your head and wait, depending on the situation. So turtling up is just what you might think. Turtles kind of be cautious, move slowly, and make sure they're safe. When you talk about height, that's how high up off the ground you are, or it's trying to get high ground advantage. High ground advantage is really impactful in Fortnite just because you get a better view of everything, and it's harder to shoot up at someone than it is to shoot down at them. Also in Fortnite, there is fall damage, so make sure that after you get past the 3rd story, you'll start to accrue fall damage if you jump down higher than that. The reboot is just getting, if someone's been totally eliminated, that's where you grab the reboot card, you find a reboot van, you put it in the van, and they reappear. So if they say reboot me, that's what they're talking about. And lastly, you'll hear them talk about pubs versus arena. So when they talk about pubs, those stand for public matches. Those are different than arena in how they're played because you can have up to 999 of each mat type. You don't have a moving circle at the end. It's a little less competitive. And then arena, what we play in the IHSEA, is the game mode where you only get 500 max of each map type. The circle is going to move at the end. You get points based on elimination and placement. And so those are the types of things that I just thought I would include. As far as if you're totally new to the game, these are some things you're going to hear, and that's what they're going to be talking about. So I just wanted to step there, and we're going to sort of move up as we go through the PowerPoint and talk about various aspects of this game. Let's talk about how Fortnite works at all. So we all have seen the Hunger Games. We say it's the Hunger Games of esports. Fortnite, I wanted to talk about some basic tips of how to play Fortnite. You know that you drop on the island out of this bus and you try to be the last player standing. Where you drop is going to dictate how you play. This is not the current map because for whatever reason, I couldn't find the most updated map in a nice high quality picture on Google, but it proves my point. So as you look at this map, there's all kinds of different points of interest. Some of them are going to have a lot of people. Some of them are not. So let's say the battle bus is moving this way across the map. Okay. It's going to be really easy if it's moving in this direction across the map to immediately hot drop or drop to a place where a lot of people are going to be right here. Okay, it's a city. It's a point of interest with a lot of chests people might be going for. So a lot of people are going to drop there. Well, if you drop in a hot drop, you need to be ready to shoot immediately. You need to prioritize getting a weapon and trying to survive a lot of people around you. However, that is not how you play the game if, say, you dropped right here in the middle. This is going to be later drop because the bus is moving this way. There's not a lot of people, only a couple chests here that was on this ship, and you're not going to have as much pressure. So depending on your strategy for the game, do you want to just survive to the end and get some elims? Do you want to try to pop off at the beginning, that high risk, high reward strategy? Different locations you drop will dictate how you need to play the game. When and how you heal matters. If you're in a fight, you might have many shields. You might have a big shield. You might have a med kit. These different ways to heal your character take different amounts of time and give you different amounts of damage or heals back. So lower time spent generally means lower health gained. If you're in the middle of a fight, you might have time to pop a mini shield real quick and get that 25 health you need. But if you try to pop a big shield, you might get eliminated before you get a chance to finish it, and then you wasted that. So when and how you heal matters. Some weapons tend to be early game weapons. Some weapons tend to be late game weapons. Off the bat, you're unlikely to find the golden rocket launcher on your drop. But that green pistol that would be awful later in game might be exactly what you need to quickly eliminate somebody in one of those hot drops. Generally, the early game weapons people try to get are the ARs or the shotguns or the SMGs. Those are pretty reliable. The rarity of them does not affect them dramatically early game. And then as you go late game, you're going to deal with people that have a lot of mats. They're building really high. So you need things like grenade launchers or rocket launchers, or you might need, grappling hooks or whatever it is you need to gain the advantage in a different situation because the game has transpired. So there are definitely different types of weapons in the game depending on where you're at. Rarity scale, which I just mentioned, does matter. In Fortnite, you have a rarity scale of weapons. The more rare they are, the more damage they do. So you go from white weapons or common weapons, then you go to green, up to blue, up to purple, up to gold. Okay, that scale tells you how good the weapon is and whether or not you want to be using that. And then high ground is advantageous, but as I mentioned before, there is fall damage over 3 stories. You can't just jump off of a building onto somebody below you. You'll die. So you need to build down. And that's sort of the thing about Fortnite. And I always joke about this. The reason I'm an Overwatch player by trade is I like shooting at another player and them not turning into a 10-story building. But here they are in Fortnite doing just that. So those are just a couple tips about it. Talk about a couple more. as you're moving throughout the map, you do want to be harvesting mass. You don't want to get to the end game of Fortnite and not be able to build. It's part of the game. If you get outbuilt, you will lose 9 times out of 10. But you don't want to necessarily completely destroy things. If you're walking by a big tree in like a forested area, you can hack at those trees and get a lot of wood from them. But if you don't hit them that last time, they'll still be standing, and it will be less noticeable that you had been through there, making you less obvious of a target. And it helps you with that cover that you still need. So if you knock all those trees down, suddenly, guy over here on the mountain with the sniper rifle sees you as an easy shot and is going to take it. So when you're harvesting things, you don't want to be completely destroying the things you're harvesting. And then you want to organize your loadout for how you like to fight. Personally, I like to engage middle into like short into very short. So like my loadout goes AR, SMG, and the shotgun. Because to me, I'm probably going to engage you with an AR, try to get closer to you, SMG you, or shotgun you, depending on how that fight transpires, and I have heals in the back. This is all preference thing. Some of your players are going to swear on everything that SMGs are throwing in Fortnite, or just say that they don't ever use shotguns, or whatever the case is. If they're a very good sniper, they might prioritize having one of those in there. You do have to make choices, but your loadout should be conducive to your play style, and you want to be thinking, how am I going to go into this fight? What am I planning to do in this fight? Let's have my loadout reflect that strategy. Arenas don't play the same as pubs. Excuse me. I said good shooting or hiding can get you in the top 5, but good building will get you a victory royale. You can hide all you want in a bush or in a porta potty. You can stay around and be top 3 and you did nothing. But if you haven't been working on those getting those maps, getting the good weapons, and your building skills, you will not very often win a game of Fortnite. It would be because you memed and it was lucky. But a truly skilled player is a truly skilled builder. So a lot of times for Fortnite practices, you're going to find that they need to be building and cranking their 90s or going into creative modes that have already been designed by people and learning how to quickly edit through a difficult area. Arenas don't play the same as pubs. I mentioned that earlier. Arenas that we use in IHSEA only allow up to 500 mats per map type, and you get health for eliminations, and you also have a moving circle at the end. So it's a different play style when you have less mats, and it favors a more aggressive, smart player. Dumb aggression never works in Fortnite. A smart, aggressive player tends to thrive when it comes to arenas. And the communication is key, because for IHSEA Fortnite, as we're about to talk about, we are going to be doing arena trios for our season. And when it comes to trios, it sounds like, oh, it's only 3 people. No, they can get separated quick, and you need to make sure you're communicating, you're deciding when to engage on people, and you're deciding how you're going to engage on people. One of my favorite moments that I saw, and I actually am kicking myself now for having not included the clip of this, was during this last year's Fortnite playoffs. My 2 players, Orozco and Nixty, were in a match, and they decided that they would shoot one of them, throw him up onto the other build in front of them, and sure enough, they shot. He rode a rocket up on top and dropped and shot someone, and it was the prettiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was entirely because they communicated and had a plan and said it and didn't just go crazy. So communication does matter a lot in Fortnite. It's probably not as integral a part of the game as it is in other games that we play in the IHSEA, but you have to be talking and you have to be willing to work together as a team. So let's go on to next slide. Let's get into how IHSEA Fortnite works. Now, at this point is when I probably will want to pause for questions, particularly because I actually just got out of a meeting with the Scholastic Esports director of Epic Games right before this. And we were talking about our season and plans and what we can make happen and what cool things Epic is going to be able to offer the IHSEA this year. So we got out of this conversation. This slide got changed 10 minutes ago. And now I'm here to tell you what IHSEA Fortnite will really look like this year. If you have questions, please ask them in the Q&A or the chat, and I'll try to keep an eye out on them. I want to make sure you guys know what's going on and also have any questions you have answered. So first of all, I've mentioned the IHSEA season is arena trios. So when kids queue up for an IHSEA Fortnite match, what they'll do is they'll go to game modes, they'll hit arena trios, they'll type in the custom code we have saved for them, or we will use a Unite bot, which automatically does that for them. To be determined. We'll figure out the logistics, but in any case, there will be a custom code associated with our island, and then they'll hit ready. And then when the admin for that island is ready to start promptly on time, they will begin, and all the kids will drop on the same island together in groups of 3. Okay, our season will begin February 24th. It is a Thursday. Fortnite is going to be on Thursdays this year, so February 24th is opening day. We are going to have, similar to the World Cup, qualifiers tournaments leading into one final tournament. So what this looks like is for 4 Thursdays in a row, we're going to have custom scrims, 3 or 4 of them, where kids will play that many in a row and accrue points based on elimination and based on their placement in the match. The top group of trios, whether it be the top 3 trios, top 5 trios, it all just depends on how many register for the IHSEA Fortnite season. But the top group of trios from each of those individual events that happen 4 weeks in a row will automatically qualify for our end of the year tournament, our champions tournament, so to speak. And then everybody else that didn't win a bid by winning those individual tournaments will be put into the final tournament based on how many points they accrued over all 4. So essentially, if you get first place, your trio gets first place in the first tournament of our season, you automatically have a bid into our tournament of champions. Okay. If you don't get first through 5th place in any of them, you need to have earned enough points to fill out the rest of the field. So that's sort of how this is going to work. 4 consecutive weeks of doing that on Thursdays, earning their spot into our champions tournament. And then we're going to take a 1-week break where on that Thursday, rather than having our champions tournament the immediate next week, we're going to have a community night. That was something that Epic was very important to them, that we offer that. So we're going to offer a community tournament where we're going to be able to have players that played all year, any of them that wanted to, their friends, whoever is going to be given this code, and everyone can play together. That was very important to Epic, and part of the agreement we have with them to get the functionality we have. That functionality is going to be that similar to when you watch the World Cup and you have this like omniscient over the like floating camera view. You can click on players, see their health. It tracks the eliminations and placement for you and gives you a CSV file, I think is what it's called, that has all that data on it. Kids won't even have to submit score reports anymore. We're going to get all that functionality you see in the World Cup. But they were really big on wanting to make sure we did have a community night for our Illinois high school esports community and their people that are invested in them. Turp has a question. Do trios that win place high enough for automatic berths need to be required and play each week? They do not. This is if I, me, Turp, and Coach Kennedy win the first night's tournament, the first week's tournament, we are automatically in the tournament champions, and we do not have to play the next 3. However, we may. We just won't be like we could potentially be taking that next automatic qualifier. So someone could win all 4 and keep automatic bids down, so to speak, and then everybody else gets in on points, or they could play the first week, take time off. I wouldn't encourage it. They'll be cold and then come back at the very end. Though that was what Epic asked of us. Makes a lot of sense. It's reasonable. We're going to do that. And so that was a great question, Turp. Once you qualify, you're in. You can continue to play or not, but we'll have the community night as a break. And then finally, in the 6th week, so to speak, on the calendar, we're going to have our champions tournament where everyone that qualified plus everyone that earned enough points to make it will play together multiple games in a row, probably 5, 4 or 5. We're still figuring that out. On a Saturday, just like any of the other champions moments we have through the IHSEA, and we will determine who our state champs are that day. It will not be in person. Fortnite will not have an in-person component. It will be all online because Epic is not having any in-person LAN tournaments happening at the moment. That is not officially sanctioned by them. And so Fortnite will not have a LAN final, but it will have the play-in, sort of like the FNCS, a community night where everybody can participate that is an investor in the IHSEA, and then the final one where we will figure out who our trophies are going to. Okay. Does anybody have questions based on all that information I just said as I take a drink and make it so my throat doesn't hurt as much? Let's see. If you have any, feel free to put those in chat or Q&A. I'll try to keep an eye on those and answer them as they come in. But I do want to go ahead and move on a little bit here. So we're about halfway through our time. So let's talk about, we talked about the logistics of Fortnite and the IHSEA, a couple terminology things. Let's move on to, let's see, the CSV file and not having to require students to submit scores is awesome. I completely agree. As the guy who has to type those in with Coach Kennedy every Thursday night, I could not be happier when Epic said that. So that's going to be really cool, and I'm excited about that. So let's talk theory here and not just logistics. Fortnite is just not a team game. in the same way that Overwatch or Valorant or League are, especially because it has all this variety of ways you can play it. You can play creative, you can play solos, duos, arena, trios, all kinds of different things you can do. So each player can sort of have the experience they want. But we play it in trios because it is as much a team environment as it can be. Additionally, what makes it complicated as a team game is, excuse me, you have a trio, but you're allowed to have 5 trios. And so you have these different entities working that all, let's say they all play for the Capitals, but does this trio's chemistry affect this trio's chemistry? No, they're just individually representing the same organization. So it's difficult to instill a team environment in a game that is not as, subjecting itself towards being a team game. It's very individual, carry based, and so that's difficult to deal with. The needs of Fortnite players then are different than the needs of other players. You can think about tilting, toxicity. We're going to talk about the Fortnite specific brand of toxicity in a little bit. You deal with what kind of communication they need. How do they practice? Should they play with their friends or play with the top group? These are all questions that are really good questions, and then Fortnite players' needs need to be met. So we have to talk about that a little bit. I got a chance to talk with high school coaches, high school players, now collegiate players and collegiate coaches getting ready for this. And one of the things I asked them was, you have a kid that says, I want to play with my 2 friends. Maybe that kid's amazing. Okay. That kid is like championship caliber, could win IHSEA Fortnite, really good, but his 2 friends, not so much. They're just buddies. How do you balance that as a coach? How do you say to this person, listen, I don't want you to play with them. I want you to play with these 2 really good players because then we have a chance to go win state. But then a Fortnite player is more inclined, as opposed to the other sports, to say, well, I'm not playing that. I want to play with my friends. So you have to ask yourself, is this more like a traditional sport, or is this something different? In baseball, I played baseball. I was a decent second baseman, play second base. My best friend, garbage shortstop, right? We could play together in the infield, in the middle infield. We're good friends. We have chemistry. But if he's not good, is he starting? Of course not, because it's the coach's responsibility to say, you're not there yet. We're going to put the best team on the field, and that team is going to learn to work together. Fortnite, can you take that stance? You can. Will you have difficulties? You probably will. The needs of Fortnite players are different. So really, it's all about meeting them where they're at, having a conversation, finding out why is it that you don't want to play with a better player and you'd rather play with your friends, and seeing what their level of commitment is and seeing what they're wanting to get out of the program. A lot of times that conversation is all that needs to happen. I had a kid that wanted to play with his friends last year. He was better than them. And we said, hey, I really think you should play with this kid. Here's why. I believe in you. You could win state. You need to play with him. You will become friends. You'll get to know each other. It'll be a good learning experience, blah, blah, blah. And that's all he needed. But he needed to have that conversation, because if I just said, no, I'm putting you together. This is sort of where, Coach Turp and I talked about this in tryouts. How much do you want to tell them why? Fortnite's going to need more why. And Fortnite players have a tendency to be a little more entitled to coaching decisions and reasons behind them. They have a tendency to be a little more entitled to their perception of how they are as a player. They're a little more difficult to work with, but they are really, really good at their game. They really, really care about their game and their craft. And that's why they're so fun to work with. So it's just a different mindset you need to have in working with them. So that being said, what's the primary focus of a Fortnite coach? It's going to be about empowering them and helping them grow as people. Fortnite players that want to play in IHSEA tend to, like the vast majority of them, tend to be absolutely insane at this game. They're so good because it's all they do, right? When you have 7th and 8th graders that don't have jobs and don't have, real intense responsibilities, what do they do when they get home from school? Play Fortnite. And by the time they become our freshmen, this last year, our state champ was freshman. By the time they become freshmen, they are so cracked at this game that are they going to listen to someone who's not good? Short answer, no, they're not. And they respect people that are better than them. They respect people that they think know the game really well. So how do you meet them, and how do you focus on their needs when you're not that person? I can't think of a single coach in the IHSEA better than our top Fortnite players. I don't know any of us. So how do we coach those types of players? Well, the focus needs to be on maturity. It needs to be on leadership development. It needs to be on growing as a person, because as a player, they're going to grind. They're going to go to arena. They're going to go to, creative mode and practice their editing and practice their box fighting. That's all the grindy stuff they do to improve as a player. How do they become a state champ? Is they work on that teamwork component. They work on that humility. That's what you as a coach have to bring to Fortnite players, because you're not going to bring getting better aside from, hey, go grind this drill, go practice this. That's the easy stuff. It's the interpersonal communication and the relationship building that is really challenging with Fortnite, and that's the primary focus of Fortnite coach needs to be. So aside from how you need to be as a person, how do you figure out who the team is? I had a problem our first year as a program where we had over 100 people say they wanted to play Fortnite, and the 24 was the max number that would be allowed to play with 12 varsity players and 12 JV players. So suddenly I have an issue where I have 75% of my population without a possible roster spot. That's difficult and can be daunting. And Fortnite, in my mind, is the most played game of any of our 6 esports in the state. There's just so many people who play it. So how do you narrow them down to get a team? Well, the game mode you can use for tryouts, if you have incredible numbers, is just an actual scrim. Right? If you have a player that has a custom code, a lot of you do, you just need to ask. And you have a lot of kids, I would say no less than 50, because once you get 50, you could institute a zone rule and not let them shoot until after the first couple zones. But if you have less than 50, this isn't going to work. But more than 50 groups trying out, put them in those custom scrims together, make them play against each other, and that will quickly sift with a few tries, get that RNG component lesser and lesser of a factor because you've played a number of games. You'll see who the better players are. Now, if you don't have that many, if you have a group of 15, 20, up to 40 sometimes, you can split them up and put them in zone wars is a really good way to see it. It's a simulated situation with creative mode. There's all kinds of good zone wars codes. And if you want a specific one we use or just a good idea of one that works, feel free to reach out to me. I can get you those codes. But it puts them on a miniature island or whatever, has a zone close on them, move around, and it simulates the end game, which is really where you see who Fortnite players are good at. So generally speaking, a lot of kids, go ahead and just run a custom scrim. Find out who has a custom code. Not as many kids, do zone wars. Let them play in that high intensity, quick moving, quick shooting environment. And even if you do have 100 kids and none of them have a custom code, like that's the problem, you can split them up into groups of like 4 groups of 25. Do those zone wars. Let them play against each other. Put the top players together in one by themselves. Let them sort it out. Zone wars is just an amazing way to figure out who really is the best player. Because what will happen is kids will say, oh, I've got 700 arena points. Okay. That just means you play a lot of arena. Right? That means you're not doing a lot other than playing Fortnite. But zone wars against their own competition, you'll find out who the better people are pretty quickly. You'll have kids tilt. And you'll also find out who the tilters are in that environment. You'll hear the kids that are going to scream about, it's RNG based. It's RNG based. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But you're going to have the tilters, the ones that blame something else. Zone wars, zone wars, zone wars. Let them play those and figure out who the best people are. We sort of talked already about the students playing with their friends or putting their or the coach putting students together. My too long didn't read version of that, to reiterate that, is if it's a team that can win, you are still the coach. And it's about whether you want to create a more club-friendly, play with your friends environment, or you want to play a competitive, we're going to go win a trophy environment. Okay? So if you're the coach and you can win and your focus of the program is competitive and the kids have bought into that, we talked about that yesterday with the club presentation. If they buy into that vision and they know you want to win and they want to win, it is then your responsibility to say, you know what, I understand you want to play with your friend, but at least for this top group or this top couple groups, I'm putting these together. This is why we're doing it. You guys know our focus is winning. This is who you're going to play with, get to know each other. We're going to give you opportunities to become friends. Let's go do this thing. Okay. Now, if there's just you have outside of those top teams, you have a bunch of other teams that want to play. They just want to participate, be part of this IHSEA environment. Let them play with your friends. It really just doesn't matter. You don't need to make an experience miserable just because you want to be able to say everybody who plays with everybody. But if you have someone who can win and they buy into this vision of winning and you want to go compete, then you need to go ahead and put together who should be put together. Otherwise, let them do their thing. It just depends on the circumstance, and that conversation with the player really matters. And lastly, here on this slide, what are the signs of a strong Fortnite player? Okay. When it comes to end game mechanics, accuracy is obvious. You can get accuracy statistics at the end of each game. Once they finish a game, you can see weapons accuracy. It's a little buggy sometimes, but it's pretty reliable. You don't want accuracy under 20%. Like, you want kids taking good shots. You want 30s, 40s, 50s is fantastic for weapon accuracy. Though in Fortnite, don't expect to see the weapon accuracy you see in other games because it is a lot of times over long distances or shooting at someone in a car. You want that, like, look for the 20 to 50 range is probably going to keep you out of danger for really bad weapon accuracy below 20. You look at building. Can they quickly 90s? Can they create a tower quickly? Can they edit quickly? Can they move through a structure they've created quickly to move locations and create a more advantageous spot? Can they build on an incline? Can they be aware of their like surroundings? Do they see there's water underneath them, not waste mats, and just jump down to the water? There's all kinds of things that mechanically in game can happen that shows a strong player. But I think more than any of that, what's important, because you can work on that, you can grind that, you can just put them in creative mode and fix those problems. What matters more than anything for your team is this a good person? Okay. Do they embolden each other? Are they humble? Do they work with others well? Do they want to improve? Do they think that they're just super good and they deserve a spot on the team? I mean, I genuinely, guys, had a kid message me on Discord that wasn't even in our team Discord, had missed tryouts by a month, messaged me and said, I'm the best Fortnite player in Springfield. Where do I get my jersey? And I did one of those like moments because that's how a lot of these kids see. So what are the signs of a strong player? Humility, willingness to improve, willingness to grow, good person. The mechanics matter. You'll take the person with equally good person. You'll take the better mechanical person, obviously. But I would rather take a great person and a good mechanical person over the opposite way. The personality is just going to matter so much for Fortnite as opposed to other games. Maz question: do you think forcing support role in trio setting on each player on a rotation basis under the guide of understanding the role better is wise? And when each teammate refuses a support role and they lose constantly, do you force it on one of them or force support role on a weekly basis gives the worst player? Yeah, no, totally. I understand what you're getting. So Maz asking a question, and I think the best example of this was Salem this last year. Patterson and Pure Love. Pure Love played support for their team, so to speak. He carried around a lot of meds. He was the person that when Patterson would aggress, he would have ready like a shield ready to throw up at him and help him out. He played support. On the other hand, Springfield had, an undefeated team this year prior to that last semifinal match. And we didn't really have a true support. Ben and Gabe did not play one support, one not. They just all had their own heals. It is whatever works for them. So I think if a player is saying, hey, I'd like to play support, I'd like to take care of things, let them do that. Make sure the other two are aggressive and can make it happen. But if all three are saying, I don't want to play support, there are ways to make it so that they're all kind of taking care of themselves. You sacrifice the health you could have, but also you increase the damage you could do. So it's just whatever works for the team. I think that if you want them to have a better understanding of the rotation and the support, nothing wrong with forcing them to do it in practice. But I think in general, the kids tend to know like what works for them. Trios definitely has more of a one person play support vibe to it. But I guess I would just say if they all insist on not, just make sure that they know how to counter the weaknesses of that and know how to deal with the fact that they don't have it. Otherwise, you're going to have very little heals. So just whatever works for them, try to get them to play support. If they just are flat out refusing, I don't know that it's a fight I would want to take. Just make sure they then learn how to adjust to make sure they don't need it. Okay, let's say most out of your team. Talked about tryouts. Let's talk about how to get the most out of them. How do you practice for Fortnite? I've sort of alluded to this already. A long-time listener, first-time caller. This is my Fortnite coach, everybody, so he's giving me a hard time here. How do you practice? You grind. You have to grind. You have to play a lot. The best Fortnite players just play all the time. You're not going to stop playing and show up on Thursdays and still be good at Fortnite, okay? So you have to play a lot. Some great strategies, play those zone wars. Those simulate endgame scenarios. If you know your team always gets to endgame but never wins, play zone wars. Make them get really good at editing and moving and making really high-pressure decisions all the time. If you're struggling with editing, if you're struggling with building, there's some great creative modes where it'll have like a ramp of all boxes and you have to edit the middle piece out to keep running through them over and over and over super fast. That's a great strategy for building. If your issue is accuracy, there's all kinds of creative modes you can create where they have to track. You can do anything you want. If aim wants to get improved, you don't even have to do Fortnite. You can get on aim labs before, do whatever you need to do to increase their accuracy. Really, the biggest piece of advice for how you practice Fortnite is make sure you are playing all the time and identifying what your weak point is in the game. Do you lose once you get to the end? Are you struggling to build? Are you struggling to hit your shots? Tailor your practice towards what that player needs and make sure they never stop playing within reason for the season. Otherwise, they're just going to get left behind by the likes of Patterson and Academic. They're just next level, and you have to be able to grind to go for that win. How do you maximize points earned in matches? So there's basically two schools of thought when it comes to getting points. And without going into our strategy, because it's been successful for Springfield, the majority of these things right here are Fortnite over the last couple of years. What your players need to make sure they understand is placement is going to matter more than they think. Once you get to the top 8 trios, that's when you're going to start accumulating placement points. So you want to be aggressive once you've placed. That's generally the school of thought. If you're super aggressive off the bat, you get 5 kills and tilted, great. 5 points. Love it. But then you die because you were out of meds and out of health and you didn't get to the top. And suddenly someone that didn't get any elims yet has 5 points just because they got to the top 5. Okay. So what I try to stress is, how do you maximize the points you're going to get in these arena situations? Aggression once you're placed. That's how you do it. I'm not going to say what place we hit go on or anything like that, but moderate aggression if you're good, really bring it once you've placed in the top 8 trios, then you can start maximizing how many points you could possibly get. Okay. What impact, or how do you establish and improve your in-game leaders? Not me just pouring lemonade on myself. Miss my mouth. Long-time listener, first-time caller. So the in-game leaders are going to be pretty obvious to you when you get your trios together, right? You're going to have the person that talks a lot. How do you establish them? Watch them. How do you improve them? Listen to them. You know, Coach Turk talked about this with his Overwatch kids. He'll sometimes not watch the game at all and just listen. Works great for Fortnite. How are they talking to each other? Are they encouraging in moments that are stressful? Do they kind of dismiss the other two and just expect them to stay with them? This is more of a thing that your training as a teacher, as an adult, just your maturity will help you out with. And you don't need to be a good Fortnite player to make this work. Okay. So who are they? They'll pretty well establish themselves. If you have a trio where no one's talking, that's one thing. It seems to be rare, particularly because if they're not talking, they're probably not one of the top teams. And if they're not one of the top teams, they're probably a group of friends, and they probably play enough together that one person generally leads. So I have seen very rare circumstances where no one wants to talk. You can pick someone in that case. But establish the game leader, figure out who it is, and then listen to how they talk to each other and improve their emotional maturity, improve their communication skills and decisiveness. The basic mature things that you need as an adult in this world will help them with their IGL abilities. What impact does VOD review have in Fortnite? VOD review is good when it comes to deciding whether or not that was a fight you needed to take or whether that was the direction you needed to run. Excuse me. So when you're looking at VODs of Fortnite, which we all have access to the replays after a game, which is great, just like Overwatch is very easy to go in and see. Just go back and see, okay, we won this fight. Why did we win it? What happened specifically in this fight that caused us to win it? And how could we have won it harder? How could we have been a bigger winner in that fight? It's not enough to just say, yeah, we beat them. We got away with it. We don't need to look at that VOD. No. How could you have won harder than that? And if you lost a fight, identify what happened. At what moment do we lose too much health to come back? Or what moment did we take a shot or blow our cover? What moment did we rotate incorrectly? Identify why you lost or how you could have won bigger. And that's the most impact you're going to have on Fortnite. And then as far as movements and looking at it, you know, the rotations, you can even get as in depth as saying, you know, every time I land tilted and move south, I've done this 15 times and I've won 3 of those games. But every time I've started south and moved up, I've done that 15 times and when I've won 10 of those games. Okay, well, what are we doing different? Why does that rotation work better? Use data. I think that data driving in Fortnite is very important because it doesn't lie. It ignores egos, which are prevalent in Fortnite. And you can make good decisions based on the numbers. Okay. I'm going to move on a little bit here. And I think this is, the last 2 that I want to address because we're getting a little long here. And I apologize for that. Challenges of Fortnite. How do you counter the Fortnite brand of toxicity? Every Fortnite player thinks they are God's gift at this game, right? They think they're super good at this game. And I know that saying every is generalization, but you guys understand what I'm saying. They just don't have the same reflective skills that other esports players seem to have. Okay. They tend to be point fingers when it comes to blaming. They tend to, yell when things aren't going well. How do you counter that? You don't put it on your team. Okay. And that's part of that instilling that team atmosphere. When you have tryouts and you're seeing these kids do these kinds of things, I'm telling you right now, I don't care how good that kid is. You do not want them on your competitive team if that's how they behave. You will not, it is so challenging to counter that quickly and not let it fester on the team and spread that you just don't want to do it. Make it clear at tryouts, we are not tolerating this kind of behavior. This is not what we are looking for. It is not part of the team environment, and we're not going to do it. And if you see it, hold to that, move on. How do you counter that brand toxicity? You don't enable it. You don't put it on your team. You don't deal with it. Do not let skill speak louder than character in Fortnite. You're just asking for trouble if you do that. How do you balance having fun with winning? Fortnite is tilting, and that's why there's a place called Tilted Towers in Fortnite. Fortnite is so fun when you're winning and so awful when you're not. So how do you balance it? You can do other things outside of the game. You can do things together as a team. You lift them up in their highs and you comfort them in their lows, and just make sure they remember that this is a team environment, and we're here for each other so that they can share in those successes and those failures, making the successes better than the failures not as bad. So how do you have balance the fun and winning? If you're a person that wants to go win a lot, you know that you're mentally prepared for that. You coach them for that. If you just want to have fun, let them just have fun. Do not try to do too much. Make it an enjoyable experience for them. And then the last bullet point says, how do you fight apathy when a player is struggling in the standings? This is less relevant now because of our change in structure. Every single tournament, they're going to have a new chance. So if they've been struggling prior to this, remind them that this is a new day. This is a new Thursday. They have another opportunity to go, and anything can happen in Fortnite. And also, a lot of the kids that have won the previous weeks, if they're struggling in those, might not be playing. You can tell them there's new blood out there, new opportunity, practice. You can't be apathetic and say, I'm just not good. You got to put the work in and make it happen. You got to be willing to work for the results you're wanting to get. Okay. And why? Fortnite is the one that reaches out to the most kids, the most types of people, the most availability. Is a free game. We come from a Title I district here in Springfield, and we have a lot of Fortnite players because it's the game that was free. It was accessible on mobile, on PlayStation, Xbox, PC. No matter what they came from, they could play Fortnite, and so a lot of them do. And that's why we have the numbers we have in this game, and why we have the opportunity we have in this game to reach kids that may not be as inclined to play other games, that they just have barriers to being able to play. Fortnite creates a sense of community. We have Fortnite players from across the schools in our district that became friends that have told me they would never have met each other otherwise. And they're so glad esports was a thing because they met some of their best friends just by the fact that they have commonality with this game and literally nothing else in common. And I love that. And also, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. To my knowledge, Fortnite has the youngest average player age of any of the 6 games. It's sticking around. Just in my conversation with Epic, their data suggests that as well. They think this game is staying. They're investing in college Fortnite. They're investing in high school Fortnite. And this is a game that's going to be around a while. So, it's all about building relationships. It's all about instilling life lessons and allowing them to let their skills shine in a lens of positivity and in a lens of growth. So, that being said, we have a couple minutes here, and I kind of got right under that time. Does anyone have any questions about anything I've talked about up to this point? Regarding maybe it was, I'm thinking about doing this in tryouts. What do you think? Or maybe it was, I struggled with this with my Fortnite kids. Do you have any suggestions? Lord knows I have had more mistakes made by me than the next guy anytime. Fortnite, I'm passionate about coaching because it has all kinds of mistakes that I've made, and I think that you learn so much from your mistakes and make yourself a better coach for all the games, just because Fortnite is difficult sometimes to work with. Does anyone have any questions? There's a slight delay. I'm going to go ahead and click to the next slide. If you do, or if you would rather ask them privately and not here, feel free to reach out to me on any of these ways. I prefer email or Discord of these, but if the other ones are convenient for you, I'm happy to do that. And I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon. We're wrapping up our conference here. It's been a great time. I hope you've had a good time and learned something. Please feel free to reach out to myself or any IHSEA personnel or staff, and we're happy to have a conversation with you. How to win state. I think that Andy and Turp know how to win state, just not in this game. So I'll let you know about that next 14.5-inch trophy for Fortnite But in any case, everybody, thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm glad you were here. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for coming to the conference. And happy gaming, everyone. I'll see you around.